But I just had this love for like real estate ever since I was young. By being at a full-time job, what are you giving up in return on your time? What could you be doing in your own business that can make you multiples of that? Being in business like for yourself there's no limit to what you can make.
Welcome back to the Investor Unite podcast, where we talk all things real estate, business, and entrepreneurship.
If you're looking to ignite your real estate investing, then join us at Investors Unite. And on today's podcast, we have a very successful guest, Brandon Motuk. So,
thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to talk to you.
Yeah, we appreciate,
yes.
Yeah,
appreciate you coming on.
So if you want to give the audience just like a brief summary of kind of like what you do, your businesses that you run, kind of, yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, so primarily my business is like real estate, a lot of what that you guys do.
Yeah.
We buy off market like properties. Mainly in like Pennsylvania, in the central PA market. We have done deals in other states. I think we've done a deal probably in about 7 different states, just by folks coming to us, or we chose to do some like marketing in like whatever state for like, whatever reason. Right, exactly. So my goal is I would love to do a deal in every state.
Yeah.
But
do you know what states you've done so far? Could you list them?
Yeah, we've done obviously like Pennsylvania, Maryland, Jersey, Delaware, Ohio, North and South Carolina.
Okay.
And one in like Texas, or two in like Texas.
And is that just wholesale or?
Wholesale and novations. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For some time there, I actually was working with a partner who helped me with all like dispo of our deals, and they had a nationwide like network, and for a short time, like hedge funds were buying.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was a great time in our.
Yeah.
We all remember that.
Yeah.
They're just selling
business.
pretty fast.
Yeah, and we got like hooked up. He just would come to me and say, "Hey, I have a new hedge fund in this state. Can you find some deals?" And they were paying crazy numbers, so we would just do a little bit of like marketing and like lock up deals. We had a hedge fund buying in Texas, actually outside of Houston.
Yeah,
and they were based out of Japan.
Oh,
and
shoot.
This is going back about 2 years now, but their interest rates in Japan actually went negative.
No way.
So,
that's crazy.
Yeah, so they were actually able to pay over value for houses. And they had a very specific, like, on my buy box, they wanted 3 2s with granite countertops and built within the last 20 years. And just right down. So we
never see that.
No,
That's
you
insane.
never see it. So we were able to pay over market for these deals.
Yeah, you could just go on the market, give your offer.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
Yeah, we ended up doing, it was all like 2 or 3 deals, but we were able to do deals in Houston, which is one of the most competitive like markets in the country.
Yeah.
But then once that faucet turned off, like how many that was done. So
yeah. I was watching the one Bigger Pockets. They have like all their sub podcasts and whatnot. One of them is a analytic like demographic podcast and going over just like market trends, stuff like that. And I saw that after all the hedge funds really stopped buying recently.
Yep.
The market had dropped, I think, 14% in Houston alone. So it's like one of the largest drops in all the markets in the U.S.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah, it's
because it shot up super fast too. I remember everything like 5-10 years ago was really cheap out in that area. Like Texas as a whole was like, you get a 4-bed, 3-bath property for like 2,200 square feet for nearly a third of the price what you could get it here, which is kind of outrageous. Yeah, but now it's
flopped.
Tables have turned.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. So bunch of real estate, wholesaling, novations. You got a couple other businesses too.
Yeah. So like I've been doing real estate since I'm probably 20 years old. Like I bought my first deal when I was 21. I was still in my last year of college, and I had this idea that I was going to buy this property without any money, and I ended up. I had this idea where I got a credit card in college because they used to give. I don't know if they still do, but they gave out credit cards in college.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I don't have any income.
Broke college kids.
You're already in debt, you know?
And it had, I don't know, it was like a $20,000, like...
No way.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. And it was like, it's 6% interest. It was something crazy.
That's absurd.
So I'm like, okay, I'm going to use this for the down payment and then go to a bank and have them put a mortgage on. Yeah. Well, I got laughed out of like 7 banks. Finally, the 8th one said, okay, yes, we will do that deal. It was my first try at it. And
what gave you the like consistency to keep going to these banks after you had so many already shut you down?
Well, because in my eyes, it made sense. Like the numbers made sense. So I was like, why wouldn't anyone want to do this deal? Like
you just had to fight.
What I didn't know was that they want you to have your own cash in any deal.
Liquidity.
Yeah, right. So even when banks will finance 100%, they still want it.
They want to see that you have.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Right.
And I didn't know all that because I was just like starting out. And there wasn't podcasts like this. There wasn't Instagram. You all kind of had to just learn it.
Yeah.
Did you guys have YouTube at the time?
Yeah.
There was no YouTube. No, there was nothing like that.
So how did you learn? Like, did you have a mentor?
So there was this guy. His name was Carlton Sheets. I don't know if you've ever heard that name before.
I think I heard Zach talk about her or someone.
So he had these late night commercials on, infomercials, and his whole thing was buying property with no money down. And my mom she would buy everything that was advertised. Like she would buy that, and she would buy some like clothing spinner, or some new ab workout like machine.
It's like, oh, I need that.
So she'd buy these things, and they'd end up in our attic. And then one day I just got going through this course, and it was actual cassette tapes.
Okay.
So I listened to them in my car, and there was like workbooks, and it's the stuff we all do now. It was like these options and like seller like financing and taking over like mortgages. It's all the same stuff, and that's been around. So I probably did that stuff, let's say mid like 90s. So that's almost 30 years ago, and it's still
that's crazy to think about.
Yeah. So he talked about this idea of, all right, you get a mortgage from a bank at 80%, and then you find somebody else to give you the 20%, and that's how you buy a deal without any money out of your pocket.
Right.
So in my mind, it made sense. So I just kept going into banks until they told me yes or no.
Yeah.
But I just had this love for like real estate ever since I was young. Like I remember I remodeled a bathroom when I was 14 years old.
No way.
Just because I wanted a nicer like bathroom in our house.
Yeah.
So I watched like This Old House and Home Time and all these other home shows at the time and learned how to do it.
HGTV or DIY?
Well, I was even there at that point. It was literally This Old House, I think started in 1980, right?
Yeah.
And it was the first home flipping show. Like,
wow.
They would buy a house and they would redo it. And they were always in Boston, so they could buy a house for $50,000 and put $200,000 into it. It's worth
$500,000.
Right. Yeah. So they were doing it in a market where you could do some major renovations, but they would show you how to do all this stuff. It was like pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I did that.
It's like, Mom, can I just go rip our bathroom apart real quick? I promise I'll make it nice.
Right. Yeah. and my mom was cool about it. Like she knew that I would think through things, and she drove me up to Lowe's to get everything I needed because I couldn't drive. I was only like 14.
Right.
Yeah.
So
did you grow up in this area?
I grew up in Schuylkill County.
Okay. That's not too far away.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I started in investing as well. And like back then you could buy a multi-unit for like $15,000 a unit. And
that's insane.
And they would be in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
And they'd be renting for $500 to $800 a month. So your cash flow was crazy.
Yeah.
But what I didn't know at the time was when the market turned in 2008, all those tenants were C and D class type tenants in like properties.
Yeah.
So I was the first one that they stopped paying. So I was in court all the time going after judgments and like evictions, and it was just a nightmare.
How many units did you have at that time?
Oh, I don't know how many buildings. Because once I got that first one down, it was easy. Then banks were coming out with 106% loan-to-value mortgages.
Are you serious?
Jeez.
Yes.
These are things I've never heard of. Negative interest rates.
It was great at 5.25%.
Over 100% LTV.
This is probably 2004 or 5. I worked with a mortgage broker, and he had these 106% loan-to-value loans.
How does that even make sense?
So I would just say, hey, I want this house. And he's like, okay. I'd walk in and I'd walk out with a check. And it was all financed in a 30-year mortgage. And they were like 5%. It was insane.
Kidding.
It was so much easier.
Dude, if we got those around now, like,
it's crazy. It was craziness.
Yeah. Prices would be through the roof right now.
Yeah.
Oh, it'd be nuts.
Yeah.
But that all was what led to the 2008 nonsense.
Right.
Because people were buying
bad
stuff
mortgages
they shouldn't have bought.
Yeah.
But these and these were investor loans on top of it.
Yeah.
Like 106% loan to value on an investor loan. So I was
5%
buying
interest rate.
Yeah. So I was buying single homes, 2 units, 3 units. I had a couple 4s, but that's sort of the market I like played in.
Yeah.
And they all rented well. I was making a bunch of cash flow, and I was working for the government at the time, so I didn't make a lot of salary.
Yeah.
So this supplemented and was able to give me a nicer lifestyle.
Yeah.
But then when 2008 and 9 hit, man, those tenants were horrible. I was evicting everyone, and people were threatening to kill me, and it was bad. It was because you used to have
Yeah.
to go
Scary.
get rent in person back then.
Right.
Yes, I used to have to show up and knock on their door.
You didn't have Cash App back then.
No, it was nuts, man.
Yeah.
So
At the time, how old were you then? Like 2008-ish?
I was 28.
So yeah, still fairly young dude. I'm sure
Yeah.
like you're like tenants, some a lot of them are older than you.
Yeah.
So they see young kid walking up, like, give me rent. They're like,
They
get out of here, kid.
Yep, exactly. And I, of course, I thought I knew it all.
Yeah.
At that time, and I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know. Like I knew the mechanics of how you buy a property. I knew the mechanics of how to fix a property.
Right.
But I didn't know how to deal with people. Like I was just a smart ass. Like I thought I knew it all, and because in my mind I did, but I didn't know anything about people and how to get what you want out of like people, and like that's a skill it takes.
That's a great point to bring up, because like I kind of had the same thing when we first started. Like I understood a lot about the actual investing itself. Like I understood running comparables and estimating rehabs and ARVs and all that junk. And when we first actually started into the business, we started with just typical cold calling and whatnot. And it's like, dude, I've never done this before. Like this is actually scary. Like I can tell them what their house is worth, but how do I actually get them to believe me? Like how do I give them this pitch? Like, I have no idea.
It's tough.
Yeah, completely different side of the business. No one really talks about.
Yes.
But,
yeah. The people skills, like they call it like the soft skills.
Yeah.
Those are what, if you get good at that stuff, you could do whatever you want.
Relationship building.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Really get good at that. Knowing how people tick and knowing how to get what you want out of someone, where you both win, not just trying to play a game. Yeah. Right.
Read the 48 Laws of Power book. I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's super interesting. And that's the stuff that it took me many years to kind of learn that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I've been in and out of real estate for 20 some years now. In addition to that, purchased a couple lawn care businesses about 2 years ago now.
Okay.
They're still like running. We do lawn maintenance, cutting, mowing, etc. We also do smaller like landscaping jobs. I would say our sweet spot is $2,000 to $10,000. So people want new like mulch beds or new shrubbery or trees and that kind of stuff. We do those installs. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
Yeah.
Did you start these businesses or did you buy these businesses?
So I bought.
Yes.
Okay. So so 3 years ago when this all like started, I was doing my real estate stuff. That kind of always ran by itself.
Yeah.
But I had a full-time job. I had a full-time job up till 2 years ago.
No way.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I always had demanding jobs. Like so my last job before I left the like working world was I was a senior project manager for a construction firm. So at any given point I was managing like $50 million worth of construction.
Jeez.
A lot going on.
Right?
Yeah. Very stressful?
Very stressful. It's a hard business. Like true commercial construction, it's a tough like business. The margins are very, very slim. So you're doing large projects. Yeah. But
everything has to go perfectly.
Everything has to go right.
For you to even make a little bit of money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were construction like managers. So what we would do is we would bid on projects and then based on an estimate that was done. And then if we won the job, we would go to subs and buy out each trade. So I would like negotiate with the plumber and HVAC guy and a concrete guy and a framing guy and
just make sure everybody fit within your bid.
Right.
A little bit less actually.
Right.
You still had your profit in there.
Yeah, and some would go over and some would be under. So at the end of the day, you wanted to show some like profit.
Right.
And it's like well known in commercial construction on bigger jobs, you're only making 4 or 5% like profit. Yeah. Which is not a whole lot when you really like think about the amount of money that's spent to
just
make that.
Circulating within that company.
Right.
Yeah.
So why not quit that job sooner and go like all in on real estate?
Right. So
I'm sure you had quite the portfolio already at this time.
Yeah, I was always buying like rentals, and then I started my wholesale business about 5 years ago.
Okay.
But it was a thing where I was doing it all. So I made a great like living at my job. I had good benefits. I had a company car. Everything was paid for.
Yeah.
And I had on my real estate stuff was running on its side, and I was doing it all.
Yeah.
And it's the age old golden handcuffs. Like it was hard for me to give up that salary.
Yeah.
Because I saw it was a big like number and
like security.
Yeah. It allowed me to live the lifestyle I wanted, as well as my business was still like running. I was doing it all. So I was like, why quit?
Right.
I'm going to run this as long as I could. Well,
so if you're capable of doing all of it, then why not do it? Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it came to a point where the choice was kind of made like for me.
Yeah.
So, and it was the best thing that ever happened, because the part I missed was, yes, it was a nice salary and I didn't want to give that up.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't see was what I was missing because I was working that job. Right.
You're looking at like time and opportunities, stuff.
Opportunities, yes. So like, I know my wholesale like business, it was never doing a ton of money, but the first year that I wasn't working, we quadrupled our income.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which was much more than my like salary. It was multiples of my salary.
Yeah.
And I actually feel stupid because I'm like
if I would have done this 5 years ago.
Right. Exactly. But it's one of those things again where you do what you feel is right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was working. In the hindsight, yeah, I wish I would have left sooner, but
paid off in the end though.
Yeah, I enjoyed what I did. Like I think it would have been different if I hated like what I did. If I had to go into a job that I hated each day,
right?
I think yes, I probably would have made the choice sooner.
Yeah,
but I actually enjoyed. Like it was really cool. I built some really cool like buildings. I was building 1 million square foot warehouses. And,
wow,
that's awesome.
I got to be the expert in building like marijuana grow and process.
No way.
Like facilities. Yeah. Which are really cool to build because super controlled HVAC and lighting. And it was just a lot of fun to build these things.
I saw there was one for sale not too long ago. I think it was out towards, it might have been like York, Lancaster, or York, Gettysburg area.
Yep.
Dude, they're asking like $13 million for this thing.
The amount of money that business makes so much money.
Yeah.
If it's run right.
Right.
But it was really interesting because I probably built 6 of those things in Pennsylvania and like New Jersey.
Yeah.
And the people I would deal with were all PhDs and they were brilliant like people. And they all had the same goal. And it doesn't matter if you're for or like against it. I actually think it's a good thing that it's helping like people. But they have this goal. They have this goal where
promise. It's being open.
Right. But it does help a lot of people too, right? So, and they have this goal where if you take an aspirin on a Monday for a headache, and then you have a headache again on Wednesday, and you take an aspirin, you get the same result, right? That's how drugs work.
Right.
That's their goal with these plants, is to get the same result. If you take it on Monday, if you use it on Monday and you use it on Wednesday, it's the same result. And they're like 99.9% of the way there. And when you think about how difficult that is to get like two plants,
that is crazy,
that you're going to extract oils from and have the same result. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
and they have this down to a science. It's all how many lumens of light they get and how long and hot and cold and how often they're watered and what soil they're grown in. So
whenever you're buying from the dispensary, I mean, they have like the percentages of how much ingredients of whatever it is, it's THCA or THCB, CBD.
Yep,
they have like their whatever percentage, I don't know what all of it means. But
it's really cool.
It's crazy how they just even know that just coming from a plant. It's like, how did you test this? Like, how did you figure out the right formulation to create this? It's awesome.
Yeah, it's like really neat. So like I got to build like 5 of those things, so I got to learn. So I was enjoying what I was doing. So that was like another reason why I never jumped out of it. But if I could give anyone any advice, don't ever just look at the salary. You got to look at, by being at a full-time job, what are you giving up in return on your time?
It's like, what are you missing out on?
Yeah. What could you be doing in your own business that can make you multiples of that?
Yeah.
Right.
The best thing about being in business, like for yourself, is there's no limit to what you can make. Right. There's a limit to what you can make it at any job.
Yeah.
Even if it's a sales job, there's still going to be a cap on what you can make. But
it was actually great advice for us because she's been self-employed now for
3 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually still have my current W-2 as well.
Oh, okay. All right.
So Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 2:30 at a warehouse.
Yep.
And then 3 p.m. to whenever.
Yep.
It's real estate. So I'm kind of on the brink of like, do I quit? Do I not quit?
Right.
Like, I've made the decision to quit, and that's coming up here shortly.
Oh, that's cool.
Just
Awesome.
Waiting on a couple things to fall into place. But So I mean, I'm excited for it, but at the same time, kind of as you're explaining, like it's nerve wracking almost.
It's hard
because it's such a secure, like what that paycheck's gonna be every week. For me, it's 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, and it's just like I can plan a budget around this, and then you're self-employed. You don't know when that next paycheck's coming.
But
that's the struggle.
Do you feel like that pushed you harder? Like once you quit, you're like, all right, now it's time for me to go full force.
Oh yeah. You have no choice. You don't eat unless you hunt and kill. Like, and that for me was the hardest part. Because I was so ingrained in that corporate get a paycheck every 2 week mindset. Once I was out of that, like my first 6 months, like I went through like depression and all kinds of other stuff because even though the business was doing well, like it was hard in my mind to get over this. Wait, I'm not going to get paid this week. I'm not going to get paid next week. Yeah. And you'd have a big month and it's awesome. But then the next month you may not make anything. Yeah. And that's just how business goes. And I know that, but it's tough to accept it. It's tough to swallow that pill.
Right.
So outside of that, did you feel as though after you quit your job, you weren't as productive? Because at the time you were managing like your full-time job also with the business and all your other businesses. Yeah. And then you quit your full-time job, you're like, well, now I'm just doing the business. Like, and what I'm doing, is that even enough? Am I being productive as I possibly could be?
Yes.
Is that an issue you faced?
So I found myself being very busy, but was I productive? I don't know. I was trying to figure out, because every business I bought or started was while I was working. Mm-hmm. I built them in a way that I didn't need to be there all the time or be available all the time. Yeah. So once I was available all the time, it was more of a struggle of where do I fit in? What roles do I take away from? Yeah. And that was the toughest part, because my real estate business at the time, we were doing everything like virtually. It was just running. I didn't need to be there. I would be involved in some things, but not a whole lot. So I was like, okay, where do I fit in here? Mm-hmm. And the business ended up evolving a little bit more, and we ended up doing a lot more stuff anyway. But figuring out where you fit in was the toughest part. Yeah. And all right, what time do I wake up, and what do I do with my day?
What's my morning routine? Yeah. Do I have a morning routine?
Yeah, it's crazy. It was such a shock to my system. Right. Like the first month was great. I'm like, oh, I don't have to be anywhere. I can do whatever I want. But once that wears off, once that wears off, it's like, okay, what do I do with my time to make sure I'm spending my time as wisely as possible?
Going golfing every day.
Yeah. Now my goal is, all right, how can I work as efficiently as possible? Yeah. And purely work on activities that are making me money. Right. That's my whole goal like right now, because I'm not getting any like younger. My kids are growing up. Like my son, and then I have two like step kids. Okay. I want to be there a lot. So when I say yes to anything, I want to make sure that it's going to have a value back to me. Yeah. There's the stuff we do grinding through our day-to-day, obviously, that we all have to do when we're running a like business. But really my focus is, okay, if I'm going to do something, how is it going to pay me back? Yeah. And if it's not going to either pay me back in like education or like satisfaction, like helping someone, lastly, like money, right, then I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So that's where it gets tough then, because then you get like, now I'm so busy, I don't know what to do, like, or what not to do. Yeah. So you go through waves of,
it's like you can't win.
Right. Like
no way. So.
But like I thrive on being like busy. I'm sure you are the same way. Like if you're bored, your days are very
it's horrible.
Yeah. Just whenever you like you're getting ready for bed, you're like, today was not a productive day. Like I feel like I didn't get jack squat done. You're like, dude, it was horrible. That's a bad feeling to have.
Right.
But vice versa. I mean, you had a productive day. Like you know, you had a productive day. You're like, I did a lot today. I'm proud of myself.
And then you go to bed and you fall like right asleep. Yeah. That's how you know you had a good day.
Exactly.
And you got a lot done. Yeah.
Yep. Nice. So what did you actually go to college for?
So I was a structural engineer.
Oh, so you did use your college degree for your future career?
Yeah. So I worked at like PennDOT for 9 years. Okay. I designed like bridges and reviewed like bridges. Nice. I worked out of the central office in Harrisburg. I thought that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life, and a few years into it, I realized this is so boring. Yeah. It was horrible.
You heard about that Baltimore bridge?
Yeah. I actually visited that bridge when I was probably in my early like 20s. We had a partnership with the Maryland like DOT, and they took us out on a boat to visit a bunch of their like bridges. Yeah. So I got to see that from a boat like underneath.
Oh, wow. What's your thoughts on that? Is that like, obviously ship hit it when
Yeah.
a giant cargo ship.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, sorry, a little side topic, but I found out, so for my warehouse, I work at TE Connectivity.
Oh, yeah.
Tyco or Amp Electronics.
Yep.
Whatnot. And actually, a couple of the containers we were supposed to receive today were on that ship.
Oh,
man.
wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
crazy.
we didn't get a couple shipments, and I was like, no way. Like, it's in the middle of the ocean. It's
Yep.
crazy.
That's going to cause a lot of issues with like stuff.
Oh, that's like millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't buy into all the conspiracy stuff with that. I really think somebody was just stupid.
Right.
And not just somebody, multiple people just screwed up.
What I heard is like the ship somehow lost power, and then that's
Yeah.
what ended up happening. Just like ran into it.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, the whole bridge goes down.
Yeah, and those things should still be able to steer, but there's probably a combination of things. Like that same vessel
Right.
I read was involved in an accident back in 2016.
Oh, okay.
It's from Singapore, so they probably don't have the same
Technology.
rules or even just checklists that we have.
Yeah.
But there's then like harbor masters that should be watching all that as well. So a bunch of people just dropped the ball.
Right.
And it's fun and it's like sexy to say it's a conspiracy and it was terrorism and this.
Entertaining.
It's just entertaining. Yeah. I think somebody just screwed up. I hate to say it. Like, and I'm not making any I'm not trying to make it lighter because there was like loss of life.
Yeah,
but
of course.
I personally don't believe
In the conspiracy junk.
I think somebody just screwed up.
That's
Most
most likely
that's
what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As like but knowing what I know about like bridges, knowing how much traffic is going under that bridge, those columns are typically surrounded by feet of concrete.
Okay.
So even if they get hit, it's not going to knock the whole bridge.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Those weren't. They haven't upgraded those in 30 years.
okay. So that's the point I was trying to get to. It was like, what about that bridge was like different than?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you even look at some bridges you drive under on the highways, they have
You can see them.
Yeah, like
concrete.
on a
giant
Front
blocks.
Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Massive
They're
pieces
huge.
of concrete. So even if they get hit by a truck, it's not going to bring the bridge down.
Right. Exactly.
So to not see that on this bridge, it seems kind of odd to me why that wasn't upgraded.
There,
But
yeah.
it's the age old problem. The states don't have enough money to fix all their bridges.
Yeah.
But the great thing was that the ship did call out like Mayday, I heard, and stop traffic on the bridge.
They were able to get a lot of people off.
That's good.
So there would have been a lot more people hurt.
Right.
So like knock on wood, like that was great.
That kind of eliminates a lot of like the conspiracy stuff too, because they're like they know they're about to hit. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe it was like I don't know, but I'm just saying people do screw up.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can make up stories, but at the end of the day, people make mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes those mistakes cost lives, unfortunately.
So, anyways,
Yeah.
sorry, side topic, but jump back to real estate a little
Yeah.
bit. So, yeah, I mean, you went through the whole '08 crash. Did you lose any of your portfolio during that time?
I got rid of it all.
You got
Over a
liquidated
couple
everything.
years, yeah.
No way.
And it was really interesting. One of my oldest friends is a real estate agent yet. He's 55 years old now, and he's been doing it a long time.
Mhm.
And I remember him saying to me, like back then, it's easier to acquire than it is to get rid of things. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Now we're not in that market now, but back then that was the market. Like
Yeah.
I was just saying how it was so easy to buy.
106% LTV.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
crazy.
Absolutely.
There was a lender out there. They were, what was their name? Like Countrywide, I think it was.
Okay.
And a lot of these properties, this was before, like now I buy everything in my company's name, in like an LLC. 'Cause,
Right.
You don't want your debt to income ratio get out of whack. Like
Yeah.
you buy too many.
We realized.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm already screwed.
Yeah. So you pay a little bit more when you buy in an LLC. You pay a little more in points and interest, but it's not in your personal name.
Yeah.
Well, back then I was buying everything in my personal name. Like I didn't know any different.
So your credit score, was it like shot?
No, my credit score was amazing.
Oh, really?
And when the banks would look at you to see how bankable you were, they were allowing you like, I don't know what it is now on like debt to income. Usually if you're above like 40%,
Yeah.
trouble. They were allowing you to go to 70, 80% and they didn't care. But they would use the rents right then and there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like when I would buy a property, they would use the rents of it while I was applying for the mortgage, even before I owned the property.
They just wanted you to get that loan.
They
didn't
just wanted
care.
people to
They didn't care how it was done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, like if you buy a property,
With-
you almost have to have a year's worth of history before they could use that rental income
Yeah.
to put back into your debt to income.
Yeah. Exactly.
But back then, they just wanted you to get
So
those loans.
easy.
Yeah, they wanted you to get those loans. So it was easy to buy, but then getting like rid of them was a challenge. And I lost like money, but I was happy to be out of it.
Yeah.
I swore off of real estate. I was like, I'm never buying anything again. Yeah.
So, you were in for a total of 8 years by the time that hit?
I was in I'd say about 8 years.
How big was your portfolio at that time? If you just had a rough estimate.
Probably high 20s or so.
Yeah.
But man, I couldn't wait to get them gone.
Yeah.
But I was also like, I was young and single. So what I would do is I would buy like a 3-unit and it would be in town. Yeah. So I would redo one of the units to be great. Like I would just do it super, super nice.
Yeah.
And there are other 2 units would pay my bill. So I'd be living for free.
Yeah.
And I'd have a free apartment that was close to the bars we went to.
Yeah.
Stuff. So
living the dream.
You had it all planned out.
Like every couple of years I would buy a new building and redo a nice apartment. And there were some cool like buildings up in like Pottsville area.
Yeah.
That had high like ceilings. So I just make them really cool and
nice. Bring all the chicks back.
Yeah, right. That's what it was
like,
all about.
Oh, you live here?
Yeah. It was like, this is really cool. And then you're living for free on top of it. So it worked well for a while. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing that now, but
it still works.
It worked well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I was about 8 years into it, and then I'd say I got back into real estate 2017-ish.
Okay. So there's a good gap there.
A good gap. Well, I focused on my career. Like, I left the government job. I went into sales, which I recommend. And anyone who doesn't know what they want to do, go into sales.
Yeah.
Get a job in sales.
So you acquire so many skills doing that.
Yes. And you can make so much money.
Yeah.
And so I sold chemicals for like concrete. So it was like, it fit in with my background. I knew that kind of stuff, but I got to learn a lot about sales, about how that worked. And so I did a couple different jobs then. And then when I got back into real estate, I took a different approach. Like I wasn't just buying these cheap apartment like buildings that were cash flowing. I was like, all right, I'm going to buy nicer houses now, houses that I'm proud of. So now most of what I own is single like family houses with good tenants that are there for 5, 10 plus years. I rent to nurses and accountants, and I rent to a like doctor a couple of years ago. But people that are better off in life, treat your house as a home, move in their families, and just stay there. And they just choose to rent for maybe job reasons, or maybe they just don't want to buy.
Yeah. These are like A, B class properties.
A, B class is what I own. Yeah, I sold off my last C last year, and so I have virtually no maintenance calls anymore.
Yeah.
I don't make any cash flow. Well, I do, but I don't take a cash flow check. I just put it back into the buildings.
Right. Build up a reserve.
Right. And those now are my future and my family's.
That's your retirement.
Exactly.
That's nice.
Yeah. So I just like that. And nice single family homes are tradable. So if I'm in a point where I need cash, it's easy to say, okay, I'll sell this house.
You have a bigger buyer pool other than a 2-unit you're selling to an investor, or 4 units, most likely an investor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And up until two years ago, it was tougher to sell those things. It was all based on the cash flow and this and that. Now, any multi you have can sell like that.
They go
actually sell
fast.
faster.
Yeah. Hey, if you got some,
I know, right?
let us know. Yeah.
So it's hard to even say that, but now because everything's tradable now, but that's not going to last long either. That's going to go back to where it was. So when you have single homes, if you need cash, it's easy to sell a single home.
Yeah.
So I just like that. And, I sold a bunch off over the last 2 years just because the prices have been so high.
Yeah.
I sold a 4-unit in like Camp Hill, and I can't even believe what we got for it.
I saw that one. Yeah. I sent it to him.
Yeah.
Which one was that?
I don't know the address.
It was behind the new. They just built like a Sheets and all in like Camp Hill a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It was like back there.
It was a really nice property.
It was a nice property, all brick. It was 4 units.
I think I know which one you're talking.
It hasn't been updated in probably 30 years, but it was a solid building. Everything was hardwood floors.
Yeah.
But we listed that thing. I think we listed it like $430 or some of that, which
still pretty high. That's over $100 a door.
That's high.
It was high, and it was. If you looked at the numbers, like if you were going to get like a DSCR loan, it was barely going to qualify at that.
Yeah.
With like 20 or 30% down. But we thought, all right, we'll see how high all that we could go. and we had an open house, and there was like 70 people at this open house.
70?
Are you kidding me?
It was insane because I didn't want to disturb all the tenants. Like showing a 4 unit is very difficult.
Right, yeah.
So we're like, all right, let's have one open house, and what we do is we'll give the tenants a gift card and say, all right, you tell us where like you want to go for lunch or like shopping. We'll give them like $200.
That's nice.
Just say, hey, go get lost for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Go have fun.
Yeah.
So you get everybody out of the building, and then you get everyone in there one time. And that's worked well for us on like a lot of deals. You get everybody in there at the same time. It creates that competition. It's easier on your tenants.
Yeah.
It's a win-win-win.
Yep.
There's a good tip for all you.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that thing ended up going for like $485. It was ridiculous. And the people that bought it, they even had an escalator in their contract that they would go to $535 if there was higher offers.
Are
way.
you kidding me?
Yeah. And that was like the quintessential perfect, I wouldn't even call it a bird deal because we bought that off-white market. It was a cold calling lead. No, it was a texting lead.
Yeah.
Bought it for like $270.
Wow.
18 months prior to when I sold it.
Yeah.
I didn't put any money into the building.
Just
Other than I just raised the rents because
Cash flow for a little bit.
it just cash flow.
Yeah.
Because the guy was renting at $500 to $600 a month per unit. It's
That's
in Cap Hill. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got them all up like above $1,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we had some turnover. I did some minor maintenance things.
Now, did you do it right off the jump, or did you like a couple months go by, we're going up? A couple months go by, you're going up.
As soon as I bought it, we started a race.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, shoot.
Anybody that was, there was one person that was in a year lease that we had to wait on that person, but
Yeah.
every other one on a month.
So from 500 to 1,000.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, and so there was 3 that were on month to month, and 2 stayed and 1 left. So
Okay.
I was like fine with that. And then the one that left, we ended up renting that for like $1,200 then.
Yeah.
So just, and is that wrong or right? I don't know.
Because you could have bird it too and made a good amount and
Yeah.
Well,
Possibly pull some out.
So that's how I did. So I bought it cash for $280,
Okay.
$275.
Yeah.
Raised the rents,
Yeah.
and then in 3 months went to a bank and it appraised at $350.
Mhm.
So I pulled out all my cash,
Okay.
so I didn't have any money into it.
Right.
Yeah.
And my goal was to keep that for 20, 30 years because it was a good, strong like rental.
Yeah.
But then I saw the market. I'm like, all right, I
little
have to at
tempting.
least like test it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, if I get over 400 for it, I could redeploy that cash into other things.
Yeah.
And then we put it at 430 and we we're getting all this interest. And then when it went for that, I'm like, it would take me so many years to recoup.
Yeah.
It was like a $200,000 gain. It would take me so many years to like recoup that. So it just made sense.
Mhm.
And it was really surprising. Like the people that like bought it just had cash in the bank and wanted to put it into
A hard
an
asset.
asset. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And that's all it came down to. And
How long ago was that?
last November, October.
Interest rates were still pretty low at that point.
Yeah, they were just starting to climb.
just
I think they were
starting to
like at 6 or 7, but these guys paid cash, so it didn't even matter.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
That's crazy.
they were sitting on cash is what they told me, and they're like, I'd rather have it in real estate, even if we're losing money on the building.
Mhm.
All the depreciation and everything else that comes
Yeah.
with real estate.
Well, they're good buyers.
There's so many
for wholesale
benefits.
deals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the market around here is great. I think we live in one of the best markets in the country.
I say that all the time.
Right? Yeah.
No, it really is. Just because you have the cash flow and you have the appreciation.
Exactly.
So
it's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not crazy high. Like it's not like Vegas, Florida, Austin,
Right.
where you have big jumps each year. Because when you have those big jumps, then you're going to have big drops. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
We go up a little bit each year,
Yeah, like 2% a year.
and it's safe.
Standard.
Over COVID, we went up probably 15%, but
We jumped up. Yeah.
everybody did. So I think that's just the new.
It was the norm. Right.
Right.
And I do want to dive deep into your automated wholesaling company. But before we do that, I want to dive back into like all the other companies you have. So wholesaling, the landscaping. I mean, you're an author now, which is
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your book for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just released. I call it my first book because I really enjoyed the process, and I want to write another one at some point.
Yeah.
But this like book, it took me about 18 months, probably because I put it on the back burner for 12 of those 18 months because everything else
It's fair.
is getting in like the way. But when I started this, and truly what it's for was it was going to be my new like business card,
Yeah.
right? So if you've written a book, you get instant like credibility that
Of course.
the average person doesn't get.
Yeah.
Because the process is not easy, but it's not any greatly written book. Like I'm not trying to portray that I'm going to be a New York Times bestseller.
Right.
But we
Hey, it could happen.
Right.
Never know.
Right. But we did hit bestseller on Amazon in 3 categories.
That's amazing.
On the first day, which was really cool.
Good job.
But
Did you do any marketing for it?
no, we just pushed it out, and my the publisher I use, they have channels that they use to like push it out and advertise it within Amazon. I don't know how all that works, but that's part of what I paid like them for.
Of course.
They know how to work the algorithms and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when I wrote it, it was like, okay, I want this as a business card. But what I found was that as I was completing it, it's going to be sort of a legacy for my like family and ultimately my like grandkids or whoever knows me in the future. That's sort of my like legacy, and it's a view into my mind at a certain time period, which is really, really cool.
That is cool.
So if anybody ever has the opportunity to like do it, I highly recommend doing it.
Yeah.
It costs a little bit of money, but it's well like worth it. Because it's a once in a lifetime thing. Not I forget what the stats were, but less than 1/3 of 1% of the world ever writes a book.
Yeah.
Wow.
I believe it. I mean, it's a difficult task to do.
Yeah. So it was a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So
what are you hoping that if somebody were to come read your book, what are you hoping they gain out of it?
I just want people to see that like I came from a very modest like background. My dad was not in like the picture.
Yeah.
He always wanted to be on a bar stool instead. Our mom raised us. She worked up to 3 jobs at one point. My grandparents were very, very involved, who taught me a lot of how life is and how life works, and taught me a lot of great lessons. And I talked about all that. And then I talked about how I was able to buy like properties without a lot of money. Like I didn't have
that's how you got started.
Yeah. Like I paid for college like myself, and I paid for everything. I didn't have anything handed at all. And I'm not sorry like for that. It made me stronger.
Yeah.
But everyone should be buying real estate no matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
Even if you think you have a good job and a good retirement, you should still be buying like real estate, because I can guarantee you, and I go through some math in the book, you buy just one rental house, it's going to outperform any IRA or 401k that you have.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down.
So do you recommend still having those along with real estate, or would you just go full-fledged real estate?
So if you're in a company that has a good 401k match, definitely max that
Take advantage of that.
Yes, because that's free like money. If they're going to match 5%, just put in the 5%, but stop at that.
Yeah.
I don't love stocks. I've traded stocks. I've done all that. I don't like it.
Right.
That's a club that you got to be in if you really want to win in that business.
Yeah.
But real estate, you're in control of it.
Yeah.
You can do what you want, and you can make money or not based on the decisions that you make. That's why I love it. And if you buy one house a year, by the time you retire, your retirement's going to look completely different.
Your nest egg is built up by then.
Yeah, people don't understand that. Like, you pay off a house. Let's say you buy a house for $150,000 and you pay it off over 20 years. Now that house is renting. Let's say it rents now for $1,800 a month. Yeah. 20 years, it's going to rent for what, $3,600 a month?
Probably.
And now you've paid.
And you're going to have no mortgage.
You have no mortgage. You only have to pay his taxes. So let's say taxes are $600 a month.
Yeah, they're definitely going to keep going up.
$3,000 a month off of one house.
Yeah.
And if you buy
do that 30 times.
Exactly. Think about, so when you do the math of how much money, so $3,000 a month is $36,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Let's say you earn 10% in like a 401k stock mix.
Sure. Yeah. Which is pretty high.
Right. So you need to have $360,000 in the bank to make $36,000 a year.
Yeah.
Takes a long time to save $360,000.
Yeah.
If you're just working at
even if you have like
job.
A salary of like $70,000 a year, you're still like, even if you have like a tight niche budget, you're still like 15 years later to hopefully get to that amount.
Right.
Yeah. Amount.
Yeah, it's really tough. And so I don't believe that you can save your way to a strong retirement.
No, I agree.
Because I talk as well about everybody tries to save money on like coffees. Like I usually will buy a AM coffee at Starbucks or like whatever.
Yeah.
If you think you're going to make your life better by saving $3 on a coffee,
right?
I say 3 because it may be 5 and you get an average like coffee for 2.
Right.
That's not going to change your life. You got to figure out how to make more money.
Yeah.
Or how to make your money work harder for you.
Yeah.
So yes, it's great to save. Like my grandfather saved his way to a very, very nice life, but it was a different time.
Yeah.
Like now, if you want to do better in life, you got to make more money.
Right.
Not, I'm saving.
Not safe, but like,
yeah, you shouldn't be buying new cars and all that other stuff if you don't have it.
Yeah.
But if you enjoy a good coffee in the morning and that makes your day better and it makes you more productive and a happier person,
get that damn coffee.
buy the damn coffee, right?
Yeah.
Right. But I see so many like people, they try to save every little penny here and there. It just takes too long for that stuff to add up.
Exactly.
If your view is at 40 years out, okay, then maybe that works. But who wants to wait that long?
Yeah.
Right? I don't.
I feel as though like this is kind of like how you know who Graham Stefan is, the YouTuber guy. He's like very safe like that. I feel like whenever he is giving those speeches like to his audience, it's really mainly for like the general population, like somebody who's already had a family, they're older, they don't really have any dreams or aspirations to become these super wealthy people. But he's just trying to have them have some kind of retirement saved up, right? Where versus if you're young like us and you still have opportunities, years and years and years of opportunities in front of you, it's like don't nitpick your life now by budgeting and saving that $2, $3 on a coffee when you could do whatever makes you happy, but at the same time figure out a way to make more money.
Exactly.
Yeah. And even if you are like older, like 30s, 40s, whatnot, but you still know that you're capable of doing more than what you currently are, and still take those opportunities and try to make some more money.
Exactly.
It's all about your mindset at the end of the day.
Yeah. As we bought a property off of a guy, his name's Bert. Super nice old man. He's like 80 something.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, when did you start getting into real estate? Because he had a portfolio consisted of 2 properties. Okay. He wanted to sell them both to us. The one didn't work out, but we did end up buying one of his properties.
Yeah.
And he was like, I always wanted to get into real estate. I was like, when did you start? He was like 81 years old. I was like, no way.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
He goes to the meetups.
Yeah.
Shout out to him and his wife. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, they're a great couple.
That's really cool.
But it shows it's never too late to get started.
Yeah.
He made I think he made money off of us.
Yeah.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's very cool though.
I want to get into like your other businesses. Like, is there anything that we did? I'm sure there's stuff that we didn't need.
Well, I want to ask how you even got started in the landscaping. Like,
we'll talk about that.
Those businesses?
So I knew I didn't have time to start a business because of everything I've said, but I knew I wanted to buy something that could provide some cash flow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know I wanted. That was not what I thought I was going to buy. I thought I would buy something in construction, or something of that like nature because I knew that.
Right.
But as I got deeper into some things, I realized if you're going to buy a business, you don't need to know how to do every job in that business. Like I don't know how to cut grass. I'll be completely. I haven't cut my own grass in 20 years.
Yeah.
I've always paid since I was able to do it. I paid someone to cut my grass.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a thing, like for me too, in that one, if you look at the numbers of if you have a half-acre lawn, to buy the mower and maintain it and everything like that is very expensive.
Yeah.
So the amount you pay to have your grass cut, it almost evens it out. Or it would take you a long time to get that money back.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But also, I wanted to spend that time with like my family. So if I had to pay $50 to have my grass cut on a Saturday, but I could, and it saved me 2 hours from being out there and not with my family, I'm going to pay the $50.
Yeah, have breakfast with the family or
value your time more than $25 an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if I'm working, I make more than that an hour.
Exactly.
And it's still a win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't cut my own grass in 20 years, but I liked the landscaping business because it had like 2 things. One is recurring income.
Yeah.
On the lawn cuts each week. Well, I'll go back a step. I wanted to buy a business too that in 3 to 5 or 10 years I could sell.
Okay.
So when people are looking at buying like businesses, they like stable recurring income.
Right.
A good bad example is if you have an HVAC company that only does, let's say, new installs on new homes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very difficult business to sell because that could stop like that, right?
Yeah.
Just a one-time payment.
Just one time.
Yeah.
And it's probably making a ton of money.
Right.
But if the new home market crashes, where is your business, right?
Yeah.
But if you have that same company that has service plans with every single one of those new installs, that's $500 a year. Mm-hmm. Now that's sellable.
Yeah.
And that's sellable for a lot more, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted a business that had something like that. And I liked lawn care because you have the mowing each week, but then you have the larger pops of income from the landscaping jobs. So we'll make 40% on mulch, Those are bigger hits of like income. They're not recurring, but they go to your bottom line.
Yeah.
So at the end of the year, you're showing a higher number of total sales. So it ended up just hitting all the boxes. I made a ton of mistakes. And I could talk about that for 3 hours. Cost me a lot of money.
Gotta write a book about it.
Right, exactly. Yes. I've probably lost hundreds of thousands of dollars learning the business. Yeah. But I made a decision. I have to make it work, right?
Figure it out.
So over the years now, I've like figured it out. Would I go back and buy that business again? I don't know. It's a tough business to scale because of the cost of equipment right now.
Yeah.
So if I want to add, say, another route of mowing, I got to buy a truck, a trailer, and a mower. You're talking $50,000 minimum if you buy it used.
Right.
So for me to make $50,000 on a mowing route is going to take me a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a hard business to scale, but it churns each day. It brings in that revenue. We've subbed out a lot of the work now, so it's not a whole lot of work these days. What I have done is this year we started a hardscaping like business.
What's that?
So that's going to be called Sunrise Landscapes.
Yeah.
We're rolling that out this year. We actually just lined up some jobs, and we're going to be doing like patios, walls, stairs with block.
Okay.
Oh, that's going to be nice.
Yeah. So I'm actually really excited about that. I'm got a booth at the home show about 2 months ago. We got like 50 leads.
Oh, wow.
Of what these patios.
That's awesome.
So there's a huge market out there. So I'm excited about that. We've already lined up probably $300,000 worth of business.
Wow.
And we haven't even got through all of our leads yet.
Yeah.
And that's a higher margin like business. And what I like about that too is that's not recurring. So it's the same struggle I mentioned with an HVAC like business, but when I combine that with
it's an add-on.
It's an add-on.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. Because now I could sell that same homeowner mowing services and landscaping like services, and I could also go to all my other existing customers and sell them like patios.
It's like an upsell.
It's
for stuff.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I hope when I add that on, that's really gonna like work out well.
I hope so too. It's awesome.
But one of the mistakes I made, and if anybody's looking at like businesses, look at bigger businesses. I thought I had to buy a small one because I was starting out.
Just like a mom and pop?
You're right. It was just mom and pop.
How much did that cost, like, to just buy that business, or was it in creative financing?
Yeah, so we financed it. The seller was involved in a lot of that. And there was a lot of equipment involved, so it's hard to say what I paid for the actual business, but there's a lot of equipment involved, so it was a little bit of a like complicated thing. But yes, just about any business, you should be able to convince the seller to hold some, if not all, of the debt. It's a win-win because a lot of these mom and pop like businesses have built this up. Now they're just tired of it, and everybody thinks, oh, if they're selling a business, it must be doing bad. No. People
not necessarily.
Just get tired of it.
They don't have the kids that want to take it over.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you propose to them seller like financing, now they get an income without doing anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the same.
Like, this is all I ever wanted.
Right. Yeah. So everybody thinks you have to have all this money to buy a business, and like you don't. I would actually recommend financing as much as you can.
Yeah.
And if you could finance it through the seller, it's easier than doing like an SBA loan or something like that. SBA is very difficult to go through the process.
Yeah. Okay.
It's easy to get approved, but there's a lot of work you got to do to get approved.
Right.
So if someone's looking at business, look at bigger businesses. The bigger the business, the easier it is to run.
Okay.
You want to look at something doing at least $1 million a year, if not 2 or 3 million.
Gross?
Gross, yeah. And you want 20 to 30%, like all my margins on that. If they're making less, then you want to do higher.
Okay.
But anything less than that, you're kind of buying yourself a job. And that's like what I learned. I had to be really involved in this business because it was doing about $500,000 like when I bought it.
Yeah.
And it sounds great, but it's not. It's not a lot of money in the business world. You're just chasing things all the time.
Right.
So like my role, because we're always like looking at businesses as well. I would love to buy another business when it meets what I'm looking for, but at least $1 million and 8 to 10 employees.
Okay.
Because if you don't have 8 to 10 employees and someone leaves, it could be a big problem.
Right.
Ask me how I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where do you like find these businesses to buy? Is it like word of mouth or is it a website?
So I've bought through like word of mouth.
Okay.
But there's a ton of websites out there. There's that BizBSell is a big one.
Yeah. Heard of that.
And if someone's in the market to buy a business, I would just like you do, like when I tell anyone who's looking into getting into real estate, analyze every single deal you possibly can. Get really good at doing the reps and learn how to analyze deals. Even if you're not going to buy anytime soon, just get good at analyzing deals.
Okay.
Does this rental make money? Is it a good investment?
Right.
Go through the reps, run the math. Do the same thing on like businesses. Start looking at their balance sheet. Does it make sense? What are they adding in there? As an example, last year I almost bought, was it last year? Yeah, last year I almost bought a mulch retail like business because I'm like, okay, I'm buying a bunch of mulch. I might as well buy a mulch business.
It makes sense.
Right. So this business was making, I don't know, they were selling like $300K worth of mulch each year, which is really good.
Yeah.
And when everything cleared, it was showing a profit of like $65K a year in that profit, which I was fine with. That was more than enough. That would have worked well for like what I needed because I would have got all my mulch at a discount. But when I got deeper into it, the gentleman that was selling it, he was the guy who was loading the trucks that were coming in and also taking the mulch to the...
He was doing all the work himself.
He was doing it all.
Yeah.
So I said to him, hey man, once you leave, I got to replace you. And that's probably a $50,000 or $60,000 a year person.
Right.
So now that's $65,000.
Realistically, you only look like 5,000 profit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this was the nicest guy, but he couldn't grasp that. I was like, I need to replace you. So once I replace you, the balance sheet goes to basically zero.
Right, exactly.
So it didn't make any sense at that point.
Yeah, that's not a true business you could even sell.
That's just buying a job.
Yeah.
That's just buying a job. And he was asking a ridiculous amount of money for it. So, yeah, he wanted like $200K for it. So that just wasn't worth it.
Another question is, how do you determine the multiple of what a business is worth?
So you could do, it really depends on the business, but there's a lot of websites out there. On like BizBSell, I will look at what stuff's trading for.
Yeah.
So like landscaping on businesses are 3 to 5.
Okay.
Plumbing, HVAC can go 10 to 20 on some of them. But it just depends. It depends on the market you're in, the type of business.
Okay.
But you really want to look at what's the true bottom line. And by looking at a bunch of businesses, you'll learn how to find, here's profit, but they're not accounting for any salary. So now you got to take some salary out of that. They're not paying their taxes on time, so you got to take that out of there. So just like real estate, you got to go through the reps. It's not that complicated. And then you don't need to buy a business that you know how to run. Find someone who can do that. That's what I did with a lawn care business. I found someone who was good at running a lawn care business. That's what he did. And that's what I'm doing now on like the hardscaping as well. I found someone who knows that business and is going to help me grow that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I will input my, like, I love like marketing and I love like business. So that'll be my input into how the business is run and how we market and like so forth.
And do you have like a specific number of what you're looking for? Like, I want to buy 10 businesses and I'm good, or?
No. And if I buy another business, I think my wife will kill me. But yeah, if I was presented with a good deal, I would definitely probably do it. It just, right now I'm not actively looking for a business, but I still analyze stuff when I see stuff.
Yeah, you never know. It could be real good.
Exactly. Yeah. Like you never know. Like I know a lot of people who have made money on, the key is buy a boring business.
Buy boring businesses.
Yes. That's really the key, because those are what people are going to need. They're going to need landscaping services. They're going to need plumbing services.
Laundromats.
I would love to buy a laundromat. Yeah. But you see what they're going for. They're going for crazy numbers. Like, because they're cash cows.
What about a car wash?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
So I'm torn on that. Like, it's crazy to me how many car washes are being built in our area.
Oh, yeah. Like the big shiny shells and all that stuff.
I just went to a brand new one last night on the Pike, Cloud 10.
I saw that,
It's really nice.
Yeah,
it's
they
really
have a Ferrari just right out front.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
you
really
see that?
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But it caught my eye. I was driving that too.
It's really cool.
Marketing scheme.
Yeah. And there's a mod wash that I was a member of, or still am, just right up the street, right up towards like Walmart more. But I went to them last night and they were closed at 7:00. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll try out like the new folks.
Yeah.
So they must make money.
Oh, with the memberships. It's just like Netflix. Like you just forget about the payment and it just keeps going.
It just keeps going. So they must make money or people wouldn't be building as many as they are.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like we have to be saturated.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how many people are there to
drive
pay
in
for these things?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of cars. It's just who's willing to pay for a car wash versus do it themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I love them because, and when you have like the monthly, you just like drive in and you go through.
Yeah.
It's super easy. I wish we had more chains around here that like if I'm in Harrisburg, I could go to one in Harrisburg, one on the West Shore, but they're all kind of different,
scattered and stuff. Yeah.
But they must make a ton of money. But I can't imagine. I feel like car washes are, at least in my opinion, self-storage. I feel like that market's been very, very invested in recently.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
I think there's still, I think there's going to be a market once these foreclosures hit again, which is coming.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to need somewhere to put their stuff.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of people build a lot of units over the last 2-3 years, like a lot.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder, is there really a market for that? But you see them filled up pretty quick.
Yeah.
And they make a lot of money.
Right. They're just super easy to maintain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about plumbing or any of those issues.
Exactly. Yep.
And I also know that you dabbled into like Amazon businesses. Like, are you still within that, or
I am
did you
not.
take a step back?
So I had an Amazon store for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
It made like money. I have no complaints. But then Amazon changed the rules. Like we were doing a lot of drop like shipping where we would list stuff and then buy it at, say, Sam's Club or Walmart, and then just have that shipped to the end like customer.
Yeah.
And that was happening for many, many years on Amazon. In fact, there was a stat out there that 40% of the business was drop shipped.
Oh, wow.
Like Amazon couldn't survive without it.
Yeah.
But within their rules, they say, oh, we don't want you doing that. But they would turn their back because they knew they couldn't fulfill all the orders.
Yeah, that's half their business right there.
But then they hit a point where too many people were doing it, and they're like, all right, we got to
regulate it.
Yeah.
So then when you had to go, I wasn't interested in doing the FBA model, which is basically you have to warehouse your own product and sell it.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
you already built warehouses.
Huh?
I said you already built warehouses.
I know, right?
You could have just,
But the problem with that is you're taking a risk. Like we were able to change products like that.
Mm-hmm.
We had no
inventory.
We would be able to sell like whatever was making a profit, from cat food to TVs to like paper towels. If it was
anything,
if it was cheaper at Sam's Club than it was on Amazon, that's what we would sell.
Yeah.
And those stores were great because they would use your own credit card to buy all the inventory.
Yeah.
So you would be getting points each month. So your card would have all this money being spent on it. I was making a ton of money in like rewards in it, and it was doing very, very well for like 6-8 months, and then the whole thing just went.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And then I tried to set up my own store. I had my own like clothing line.
Oh yeah.
Like Nurture Not Nature.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I sold a couple hundred shirts, but like probably that was it.
Yeah.
It's fun to do that stuff, but I have learned focus is super important.
Yeah.
I'm never not going to have my hands in multiple things, but at the end of the day, like real estate is still where my like focus is. It's where my love is. It's what I truly get excited about each day.
Yeah.
Which got you started.
It's what got me started, and I just love it. I love, like, we're doing mostly wholesale. Well, I say wholesale, but wholesaling anymore is novations and creative, like financing and all that other stuff.
Right.
It's hard actually to do straight up wholesale these days. It's hard to get straight up wholesale prices.
Yeah.
But I've really found that I love the marketing part of it, and I love the flat out helping like people out of tough spots.
Yeah.
One of our core like values in our company is we will always do what's best for the seller.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
And we've made less on deals because of that. But that's the only way I can run my business. Yeah. Well, it's right. I don't want a bunch of 1 stars on like Google, but at the same time, like I don't want to run a business any other way.
It's just immoral at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a lady. She sent me an email about like one of my folks. We ended up not even buying their house. She actually ended up being under contract an hour before we called her. She wrote me this long email about just about how nice my guy was to her.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, I've never had that experience where he knew right off the bat that I was under contract, yet he kept talking with me and got to know me and cared about me.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the epitome of what I want.
Yeah, I get him a raise.
Right. Yeah. And he just wanted to do what was right. And he's like, hey, because he walked her through, all right, what does your contract with these other folks look like?
Yeah.
What's their DD period?
Just to make sure she's good.
That she's good. Yeah. And he's like, hey, I just want to ask you these questions. I want to make sure you're not going to end up getting screwed, because there's a lot of companies that do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And walked her through all of it and spent like 2 hours on the phone with her. And yes, he wasn't bringing in a sale, but I applaud that. Like, that's what I want. I want to do what's right. There's always another deal. Yeah. So if you need to lose a little bit of money on one deal to really help someone out and do what's right, that's
well worth it.
What you have to do it.
And we've had situations just where we built such a good relationship with the seller, and we're young. Obviously, we're 23, so they're over there like calling us our kids. They're like, the one woman, like, she was crying on my shoulder on multiple occasions. Like, I sat with her and her husband, went to dinner for hours, like sat there talking, and they just loved it. So.
And hooked me up with her son.
That's cool. Yeah. It's truly amazing, right? When you get to help like people and make money at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, what we do is just fun. Like, there's not many other businesses that you can do that.
Oh no, yeah.
Especially when you're helping folks out of a really tough spot. If they inherited a house and they're trying to clean it out and they don't know what to do with it, and
a house is the average person's largest investment in their life. Like, they don't go through too many houses just for the normal person. So if being part of that is honestly such a big deal, and being able to just like help them and guide them through that, and just whatever the best scenario or case would be for them, like they show the appreciation for it, and it feels good.
Yeah.
You know when you're helping somebody.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really cool. And there's a need for what we do. I mean, wholesalers do get a bad rap. And
investors as a whole get a bad rap.
And it drives me insane. Yeah. I think it's the realtor folks push a lot of that. They feel like we're taking food off of their plate.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of bills that are pushed through Congress because of like realtors want wholesaling to stop.
Now they're really gonna hate it with that lawsuit.
I know, right? Yeah. I mean, and that's just gonna hurt people, in like my opinion. Now, like, because you've probably seen it, like, buyers don't have a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Like in the sub $200,000 housing like market, buyers don't have.
They're asking 6% seller's assistance on everything,
and only putting down like 3%, right?
Yeah.
So now they have to pay a realtor out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
They're not going to have the cash to really do that. So they're going to try to wing it on their own. And I'm sorry, but the average person shouldn't be navigating this process themselves.
No.
There's ways they can get screwed that they don't even know.
Yeah.
I was told a long time ago, you're always going to get burned by what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And you don't know what you don't know is the problem.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right? So
you're just going to get burned either way.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a shame, because right now the way things are, the buyer's agency commission is built into their mortgage. It gets financed when they buy the house. Mm-hmm. But they don't have to pay for that out of their own pocket. So all this does is it's going to hurt the average person.
Yeah.
Sellers will be able to list houses for 1 or 2 points less. Big deal. Mm-hmm. Like, what's that going to change?
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to list houses higher now anyway, even with the lower cost.
Yeah.
And housing prices are not going to change. People are still going to pay the same amount. It's all, and the media is taking this whole thing and running like with it and saying, "Oh, everybody's going to be saved now." And no, it's not. It's not going to work that way.
Opposite.
Yeah.
No, I think as wholesalers, I think there's opportunity for us as like wholesalers.
Step in during the time.
Yeah. Because if you're not licensed, you don't have to follow those rules.
Right.
You can get into the MLS yourself now. Mm-hmm. And you can offer buyer agency commissions and still stay within, because like we don't have our rules. Like we don't have to follow the like the NAR rules.
I have my license, but he doesn't.
Right. We'll just get right. Yeah. Yeah, I've tossed up the idea many times of getting my license. I've taken the classes twice now. I just never went for it.
Really?
Because I don't want to have to disclose everything when I'm sitting down.
That's my thoughts too.
Yeah.
It's nice to have.
Too bad for us though.
It hasn't. No, to be honest.
Well, like you're not on every like billboard and saying I want to list your house.
No.
Yeah.
You're more saying I want to buy your house.
Yeah.
Right.
I have some struggle with realtors that really promote themselves as listing agents, and then go into an appointment that way and then say, oh, well, I could buy your house like for cash.
Yeah.
That to me, like, I feel like you're using your
license.
Your license, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because realtors get a better rap than investors do. So get into the door as a realtor. And
I know that's
pitch your invest.
Yeah. And I'm not saying like that's always wrong. There's cases where it's completely fine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if
they're actually trying to help the seller.
If they're actually trying to help, yeah.
But
if you're like, I think if you're a listing agent, that's what you should do. Like focus.
Just
on
be
that.
Yeah.
Be a good listing agent.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Yeah, it's pretty much like once we started investing together, or once we create our company together, she pretty much almost fully stopped listing as a whole.
Oh yeah.
Like
Well, like I'll list our flips, but like I stopped with buying, like buyers and stuff. Like
you haven't worked with a buyer in a long time.
I know. I just refer everything out. Even some listings here and there. If it's not, for us, sometimes I'll just refer it out because I'm just focused on investing. And another investor told me, he was like, whatever you focus on, expand. So that's when it changed everything for me. So with you having all these businesses, do you ever think, let me just focus on real estate and that's just going to pop off even more?
Yeah.
Do you think about that?
I do. My life's at a point though where it's not that easy to just say, all right, this is all I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since you're starting the hardscape.
Right.
It's like that's a whole nother task you have to make.
So it's all, I live life by the 80-20 rule. Like you're going to spend 80% of your time on 20% of your things, right?
Yeah.
So along with that, you should always be cutting off 10 or 20% of things in your life. So I do that with customers in our lawn care business. If their lawns are difficult or they're one of our lower priced customers, I don't have any remorse about firing a customer.
Yeah.
Take them off our list and replace them with higher margin customers.
Mm-hmm.
I think any good business should be doing that each year. All right, look at your full account of customers, take off the bottom 10% and say, all right, we are done with those folks.
Yeah.
Let's add a clean, good 10% to customers. And you could usually replace, if it's 10 bad customers, you can replace them with maybe 3 or 4 good customers.
Yeah.
Make the same amount of money for less work.
Right.
So I say this all the time. I just told my wife like last week, I'm like, I wish my life was simpler. And she's like, no, you don't. You thrive on this.
Yeah.
And when I step back, like she's right. I like being able to grab a phone call about like real estate, and then my next call is about hardscaping or what we're going to do there, and my next call is about like coaching, because I do a little bit of like coaching as well.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that, but what I have
keeps life interesting.
Huh?
Keeps life interesting.
It does.
Yeah.
I get bored really quickly.
Yeah.
With stuff, even with like real estate. It's the same grind each day. You're always dealing with a new problem, so that's fun, but it's still the same grind. So it breaks up the day. So I don't see myself ever just
focusing on one
stuff.
Yeah.
I'll always have some other stuff going, because this lawn care, landscaping, now hardscaping like business, that's now on a path that in 5 years could be a $10 million exit.
Yeah.
So I've already lost a lot of money on it. I'm going to keep that thing going, and that's just another source of like revenue.
Yeah.
But just kind of like I said, I'm very picky these days about what I spend time on. I just partnered up with Isaac on his meetup.
Yeah.
And I don't get a whole lot out of that, other than I get to be a part of something that's really cool.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to start a meetup of my own, and then just never did.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zach had presented me like with this like opportunity. I'm like, I cannot like pass this up.
Can't say no.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's just cool. It's cool to be a part of that. It's one of the largest meetups
in Central PA and
probably the state.
PA. Yeah, literally.
Yeah, there's very few meetups that get 200 plus people. And we have some big names coming.
I'm excited.
Yeah, there's some really big names.
Yeah.
But that to me, like, that's giving back. Like, it's not always about like money. Not everything has to be about making like money. Am I getting something back from that?
Yeah.
Just like you guys, I know I've done, like, if you go speak at an event, it's work, it's time. And if like you're like me, when it comes time to do it, you're like, oh man, like, why did I say yes to like doing
and like
this?
making a PowerPoint and all that
you have
stuff.
to develop.
Yeah.
But when you're done, like, you get so much.
Yeah, it feels so good afterwards.
Like you're helping like people and helping them grow.
Yeah.
So it's all like spending time to get something back is really the key. And if you're gonna take time away from like your family, doesn't make sense.
Make sure it's worth it.
Yeah. So But yeah, I do subscribe to the fact that you should focus on what's making you the most amount of money. So every now and then I have to take myself and say, okay, all right, I'm spending too much time over here in this business. I got to get back to this.
Yeah.
Right.
That doesn't happen all that often, but as we change up things and as the market gets difficult in like real estate, like it goes like this. Like
It always has ups and downs.
yeah, it's crazy. Like right now we've been struggling for a couple of weeks just to get leads. Like we were always getting leads like clockwork.
I feel you.
Yeah, same.
You do.
Same, yeah. Our biggest source is still cold calling.
Yeah.
Like we do other stuff, but for whatever reason, every now and then, this happens probably every 6 to 12 months.
Have a little dry spot.
Things
Yeah.
get slow.
Yeah.
And I'll go in and I'll examine our dialers and I'll try new ones and I'll look at our lists and I'll look at our scripts and just sometimes it's just how this world works.
Yeah.
And you just have to accept it.
You've got a lot more competition now than you did 30 years ago. So
I know that's
30 years
crazy,
ago.
right? Yeah. It's really
there's some big names around here.
Yeah.
yeah, and there's not a lot of properties. Like in an 8-county
Territory.
territory,
Mm-hmm.
there's about 1 million parcels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus or minus.
Okay.
So like there's months where we'll pull 50, 60,000 pieces of like data.
Right.
It doesn't take long to get through like 1 million at that rate.
No.
Right.
So we find ourselves contacting the same folks after a certain number of
Right.
months.
They're like, I got so many calls.
That's kind of the point we're getting to. We're like, we don't know what list to pull now. Like, we
Yeah.
ran out of everything.
I don't, right?
Like, it's getting hard.
You just got to go back like
So we started trying like different data sources.
of sources. Yep.
Yep. We used Propstream for a long time. It's like, let's try list source. And then
Yep.
let's dive back into driving for dollars like we did in the beginning.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's like, what have we missed? What can we do still?
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do. And that to me is kind of fun. Like it's fun to like
Yeah, and play around with it.
Critique and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's working.
Yeah, and like Propstream is hit or miss. Like I found it's been hit or miss, at least for me. There's some lists I'll pull on there, and every number we call is wrong number or this or that. But other lists, like I love that they have a good failed listings list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We called out
Expired MLS.
Yeah.
Or expired list.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're one of the few that still have that. But I don't like their skip tracing. Their skip tracing.
Oh yeah, we don't use the skip trace.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah.
And then it's just not that great. Like they don't have great like hit rates, but
We've experienced the best with direct skip.
Yeah.
that's what I use. Yep.
Yep.
We
Yeah.
did try batch skip tracing, and our caller was like, "All wrong numbers."
Yep.
We're like, "Dang."
We're surprising because Bash has such a big brand and name.
Everybody uses batch, but it's the same with like Propstream. Everyone uses them.
Yeah.
And now I have some friends out on the West Coast, and Propstream out there for whatever reason is really good.
Mhm.
The skip
I
tracing.
wonder if that's
and
where it's based out of.
I think it's.
I think so. I want to maybe California.
I think it's simpler than that. I think it comes down to dollars. I think some states the data is more expensive, so they pull it less often.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I think that's all it comes down to. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the price of Propstream, it's cheap. It's cheap as hell. I mean, compared to some like data sources out there.
Right.
If you've ever pulled anything from, I think list source.
Yeah. Expensive.
It is expensive.
A lot more expensive. Yeah.
And I
It's
personally
like almost $1 at least.
yeah,
Like
it's
it better
insane.
be good if it's this expensive.
I personally have never had that much better experience. I used to use them a lot when I first started because I was like, all right, they're the only ones that are good.
Yeah.
We just started. We just pulled our first list from it last week.
Yeah.
So we're still playing around with it, just seeing.
Well,
how
like
it
try
does.
it. Yeah, try it. But hit the list about 20 times to make sure you're getting your money's worth.
Use out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
They have a lot of cool niche
They
lists
do. I was
too.
going to say that.
Yeah. I have a buddy who he used them to pull a list of everyone that owns a private jet in the country.
Are you kidding?
Wow.
Yeah. And now he's pitching them for like private like funding for multifamily deals.
Oh, that's
Way.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so smart.
Right? Because if someone owns a jet,
Yeah.
They got money.
They got money.
yeah. But you could pull a list of everyone that owns like a Mercedes or a like Ferrari. Yeah. Yeah.
That is really smart.
It's some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your kind of goals like for this year? Like, do you have any just major goals?
So our goals, like we're trying to double our income on like the real estate side again.
Okay.
I'm going to start.
Just on like wholesaling innovations, that side?
Yes. Yeah. We're doing more flips like this year.
Yeah.
Last year, I think I did one flip all year. I just had no desire to. But this year we've already done 3.
Nice.
I I don't want to do 50 a year. That's not my goal.
It's a headache.
Yeah. I've done enough construction now, and managing residential is harder than commercial.
Yeah.
10 times harder. Like I tell a story in like my book, but imagine a $50 million warehouse is easy compared to managing a $50,000 rehab on a house.
Wow.
Because I have $1 million contract with the painter that's 30 pages long. He knows his rules. I know my rules. We're both going to work.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you have an $800 or a $1,800 contract with a painter on a single family house, getting him to do what you want him to do at the right time, timely,
It's difficult.
Yeah.
is very, very hard.
Yeah.
There is no rules there. And he's not going to sign a contract. He's going to give you a quote with his terms on it, and that's the best you're going to get. So when you have these bigger, expensive jobs, you have meaty contracts with the rules of the game.
And I feel like you just have more responsible people at that point too.
Yes, it's a more professional business.
Right.
I tell a story too that I hired a guy to paint one time. I think he came in store on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I was going to pay him $2,000 to do the whole thing. I bought paint. It was $500. He painted all the way through Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Like, I don't even think the guy slept.
Yeah.
Wow.
Got 95% of the house done. Never showed back up. I kept calling the dude. I said, "You coming back? You coming back? Like I want to paint you. Just come back." He had one like room to finish. He's like, "No, I'm good."
He never got his money.
He paid. I gave him $200 to start, and that's all he got. He painted 99% of my house
What's wrong with him?
Wow.
because he just wanted that. He just wanted that $200
Well,
for what?
hey, he got his money. You got the house painted.
It's a win-win. Yeah.
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 You didn't have to pay that much, so.
So that's what you deal with. So like I love doing flips, but I don't know if I ever want to have a whole business. So, but we'll do more this year. I need to do flips to get my like revenue where I want it to. You can make so much off of wholesaling.
Can you say how much you're making like monthly for like gross or, per se?
We shoot for like around 100.
Okay.
So, but that goes up and down.
Yeah.
There's
Oh, trust me, we know.
yeah. There's months we'll do more. There's months we'll do much less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody who thinks this business is consistent, it's not.
Yeah.
Not at all.
It's very up and down. Like there's months we'll do 12. Like our sweet spot, I like to do 3 to 5 deals a month.
Yeah.
That's really where we want to be. I don't want to be any bigger than that. I have no desire to.
Yeah.
Hell, if I could do 1 deal a month, that's where I would be.
Yeah.
But we have a very small team. I have 1 in-person employee here, and then the rest of my team is in like the Philippines. I have six like people in like, the Philippines.
Are they all cold calling then, the 6, or do they have different jobs?
Cold call. So I have 4 cold callers. I have a personal assistant, and I have two of the acquisitions, like people that will close deals over the phone.
Wow.
Okay.
So when we do stuff in other states, they're all closed over the phone.
Yeah.
If it's a deal that's like marginal, we'll close that over the phone rather than in person.
Okay.
I feel like it's putting a lot of not responsibility, but like I feel like it's risky allowing them to close a deal from the Philippines over the phone.
You would think so. It was hard for me to get like used to, and still to this day, we've probably bought I don't know how many houses over the phone. It's at least 100, if not 200 houses, and
That's insane.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that we do it. If I'm being honest, because I wouldn't sell my house to someone who cold called me.
Nah.
Right? But my team is very good. Like we spend a lot of time on sales and psychology. Like spend a lot of time on that stuff, and it's developing like rapport over the phone. It's not easy. It's a completely. If you have a good a good closer in person,
Yeah.
if you put them on the phone, they're not going to close.
Right.
Same way a phone closer, if you put them in front of someone in person, they're
It's
not
different.
gonna close. It's two completely different skill sets.
It is. Yeah.
So we don't close as many over the phone these days because we get better spreads in person.
Yeah.
So just about every chance we get, we'll close it in person. And then those folks, if they're not closing, they're acting as like lead management.
Yeah.
Sort of triaging our leads, setting up appointments, those things.
Are you still going on appointments, or do you have a guy for that?
I don't know.
No. I didn't think so.
I did that for the first year and a half. And I actually closed a lot over the phone as well.
Nice.
And just like you said, like it was hard, man. Like learning that skill, it was very, very tough. But I learned a lot doing it.
I don't know if we've ever closed one over the phone without seeing it.
No, we did. It was like a package deal out in Harrisburg.
Okay.
We were like, let's do it. You know, the numbers look good and everything like that. It was like a couple of days later, I go out to see the property with this guy.
Yeah.
We walk around back. The front looks good. I'm like, okay, let's walk around back. The whole back is out. I'm like,
really?
oh my gosh.
Yep.
Like, you can see the basement to the third floor. It was horrible.
Yeah.
I was like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
Well, we've had most people, if you ask them the right questions, are going to be honest.
Yeah.
But the key is you got to ask the right questions. So, I teach a lot of this in my coaching, but a lot of people say, "Hey, is like the roof in good shape? Are the cabinets in good shape?" And that's what people will ask. The problem is those aren't the answers that you need.
Yeah.
So we ask questions like, "Hey, was the roof replaced in the last 5 years? Are the cabinets the nice new white ones?"
Yeah.
Because if you ask a seller, "Are your cabinets in good shape?" They may be from the 70s. They're probably solid cabinets and they're good,
Right.
but they're not going to sell. That's not going to sell a house.
Yeah.
So you have to ask these pointed questions.
More detailed.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all it's just like an attorney does. Like an attorney asks a question where they already know the answer, but they ask it in a way to get you to answer the way they want you to.
Yeah.
Because when we're closing over the phone, we know at the end of that conversation, when we make an offer, they're going to say, "Well, Zillow says my house is worth this."
Right?
Right? So if you know they're going to say that, and 9 times out of 10, that's what they're going to say. You ask questions all leading up to that. So by what I mean there is, if you say, "All right, was the HVAC replaced in the last 10 years? Is the water heater less than 3 years old?
Yeah.
Do you have granite countertops? What type of flooring? Has the roof been replaced in the last 5 years?" If they're saying no to most of those questions,
They're gonna realize.
then they say Zillow says my house is worth $200,000. Then you can easily say yes. If you had answered yes to most of my questions, absolutely, because Zillow thinks everything that I asked you is a yes when they come up with that number. But no, you said your roof hasn't been replaced, and you said you still have old wooden cabinets from the 80s. So Zillow thinks everything's updated because that's what the buyers want these days.
Yeah.
So if you told me yes, I could pay that or close to it. But because that, now we're at $120,000, and then people aren't as offended by a low offer,
Right? Because they just understand them. It's all logic.
right? Exactly. Because if you just ask them some basic questions and they say all positive things, then they say my house is worth this, and then you hit them with an offer that's $100,000 less.
That's hang
They're
up.
just confused.
It's too late at that point. It's just too late. You've already lost it.
Yeah.
So the key is asking questions that you're leading them to a point, and knowing your objection is really the key. Okay. What are they going to say to not accept your offer?
Right.
And even pushing out things like, is there any other people involved in your decision?
Yeah.
Is there anything stopping you from selling the house? Like, is there some lien on this that you have to clear off? Getting all those questions out, so when it's time to close,
The deal killers.
yeah, the deal kill, get them all out front. So when it's time to close, now you're just closing.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, closing over the phone, and that's how a good sales in person. And I don't care if you're selling insurance or trying to buy a house; it's the same process.
And when someone gets a lead, do they tell you like this is the numbers, everything like that? Like, do you analyze the deals, or do they just say this is my offer and go for it?
Yeah. So my team is now at a point where they know what we can offer. Every now and then I'll get involved in a deal if it's a hot one, but everyone on my team who has the ability to make an offer can make an offer. So I don't get involved in that. That used to be my role in the company. Because I would put a maximum allowable offer on every lead, because we treat every lead the same way. If they even say maybe on a cold call, they go in our CRM. Yeah. Because I found that we close those leads 2 years later and make a good amount of money on them.
Right.
So we don't ever throw away leads. Every lead to us is a real lead.
Yeah. No matter how cold.
No matter how cold. Yeah. Because motivation changes.
It does.
Just because someone wants $1 million now for a house that's worth $200,000, they probably have a good job. Their marriage is going great. Everything's fun. 6 months, lost their job, going through a divorce. Yeah. Those things happen, and we don't want that stuff to happen, but it does.
Right. reality.
So if you're following up with your leads, that's how you close deals.
Yeah.
Very few people close on the first call.
Right.
We try to. Everybody wants to close on the first
Have
call.
it super easy,
Yeah.
you know.
But I'm sure you guys, it's probably your biggest deals, I bet, are ones that you have followed up with over time.
Yeah, I would say.
Our biggest deal actually came from a text message.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's amazing, right?
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Are you guys still texting?
Not at the moment. We're looking to get back into it.
Yeah.
We're using the CRM currently that actually offers SMS through it.
Okay.
But we're still having a little bit of troubles with it. So
We don't know we're learning how to use it. So
It's all changed. It's like texting used to be one of our biggest lead sources.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they changed the rules, I still kept texting, and then I just got scared a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want them to shut me down.
No.
Yeah.
I had a guy in Florida I know that he got a demand letter off of an attorney. It wasn't even the FCC or FTC. But basically, this attorney knows the rules.
Yeah.
He said, "You text to my client without her consent.
Yeah.
I want $20,000,
no
or
way.
I'm going to report you."
No way.
Now this guy, I know him through a friend of mine. He's a very active investor in Tampa, and he has his face on billboards, and he's on radio and TV, so everyone knows his face, right?
Yeah.
So he was a target. But
Just goes to show. That could be anybody.
it could happen.
Did he end up paying that though?
So this will show you how shady this lawyer was. He said, if you don't give me my $20,000, I'm going to go and report you. So they went back and forth. He ended up giving him $200, and he accepted that as payment.
Wow.
It was just a shakedown.
Yeah.
But it was enough for him to say, I don't want to chance this
Again.
And the same here. And we don't want to invade anyone's privacy.
Yeah.
No.
But I always struggle because I do believe we do more good than harm.
Right. Yeah.
So if a few
Obviously,
people get annoyed,
everyone's going to see it that way. But as long as the majority.
and if we keep doing good, that's really the key. Yeah. If there's enough people doing good in our business, it'll lift up the whole business.
No, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And I have one last question because I know we're cutting it close here. So out of all the marketings, do you just do cold calling or anything?
Oh no,
else?
we've done it all. We cycle things on and off. Everything from cold calling, texting, door hangers, mailers, PPC, Facebook ads.
You tried it all.
I've never done any radio or TV. I've done billboards.
Yeah.
What else?
Just about everything.
Just sounds like Zillow. Just even look like I'm looking at Zillow. We've called the state attorneys.
Yeah.
We've tried it all.
Yeah.
But honestly, my team is really good at cold calling.
Yeah.
Really good, and I'm very proud of them. So at the end of the day, it's our lowest cost per lead.
Yeah.
Our cold callers get 2 to 3 leads a day. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's low." I'm like, "No, they're usually pretty good leads."
Yeah.
If a cold caller is getting about 3 leads a day, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
If they're bringing in 10, they're not real leads.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee. There's nobody that's that good.
Right.
Unless you got some really good foreclosure list or something. But texting would bring in, I would get 10 to 20 leads off each texting person I had when texting was going well.
Yeah.
But 70% of those leads were pretty much just, so I'll take $1 million
Yeah.
from you. Yeah.
Right.
Because when I finally gave up on texting, I really looked at our revenue.
Mm-hmm.
And while 50-60% of our leads were coming from texting, only 10 or 20% of our revenue was actually coming from those leads overall. So it was a big lead.
Just shows those, they're not as qualified.
It wasn't bringing as much dollars in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That just shows the focus on, whatever's doing great, double down on that.
That's the key.
And that's cold calling for you. But and I think that's us as well, honestly.
That's what we got probates and cold calling. Those are our top two performers.
Are you guys actually calling yourself, or do you have VAs?
We have a VA.
Yeah.
Calls.
Yeah, that's the key.
I'll hop on the dialer every now and then just if there's
it's hard, man. It's hard.
I like it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't love it, but I like it sometimes.
I can't take. I just can't. My personality can't take all the rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get a lot of rejection.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of angry people.
Yeah.
But I think everyone should try it at some point.
Oh, for sure.
I've experienced the worst people through probates, and I understand because it's such a sentimental thing.
Yeah.
So it's I try to just completely take it as easy as possible. Like, I'm so sorry you received that letter. It's like, just looking to help. Sorry, I can't help you.
I know. Yeah, that's tough.
Goodbye.
But yeah, we truly appreciate you coming on the podcast.
I appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was awesome again to learn your story.
Yeah. Thank you.
And guys, if you guys want to learn how to build your real estate wholesaling company or investment company, we'll make sure to leave Brandon's coaching down below. Definitely check out his book, A Better Way. We'll have that link as well and all his information if you guys want to connect with him. But with that being said, we'll check. Wait, what did I say?
We'll see you on the next one.
See you on the next one. Peace.